Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today for how to demonstrate the ROI of your marketing with research. Another of my bedroom broadcasts. I'm thrilled that I'm not doing this alone today. I've got Fernando, who's from SEMrush, who'll be able to introduce himself and SEMrush a bit later on. Just before we start, let me introduce myself. For those of you who don't know, I'm Sam Killip and I run the ACE team here at Attest. Let me just explain a little bit about Attest for those of you that don't know. So Attest was designed for ambitious marketers, a bit like you, that aren't experts in doing research but do need answers fast. So our survey platform connects you to 100 million consumers across 46 countries, asking consumers questions and getting answers fast, easy and scalable. Let's face it, who doesn't need that? Just a quick word on ACE. ACE stands for the Attest Centre of Expertise. And we're here to help you ace your research, if you get that. Our existence is really to help clients achieve their goals, get the most out of the test, and have a wonderful experience throughout. So we don't mind if you're novice or experienced researchers, we're on hand to help. I'll just get Fernando to introduce SEMrush.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session. Yes, my name is Fernando Angulo. I'm head of communications at SEMrush. We are the leading online visibility and content marketing platform. If you are working on search, SEO, content marketing, social media, advertising, I'm sure that you heard about us. We are pretty much everywhere. Our main offices are in Boston. I'm working from Prague. Actually, I'm working right now from Ecuador, because I'm traveling a lot, but my main location is Prague, and you see that we speak several languages. So if you are into search, into the search marketing world, you need to hear about SEMrush.
From what I can work out, Fernando can actually speak all of those languages, so I was suggesting he should do several editions of this webinar. Okay, a couple of housekeeping points before we get started. So feel free to ask any questions throughout using the box on the right of your screen. We will answer them at the end of the webinar. If there's anything we don't have time to answer, don't worry, we can follow up with you directly after the webinar is finished. This session is being recorded, so we'll send you out a copy later on today, so you can watch us over and over again or share with friends and family. If you want to post about us, use #AttestEvents. And then finally, if you don't mind, can you please complete the post-webinar survey? We really love to hear what you think so we can make every webinar more useful. Okay, let's get started then. So why are we looking at ROI and research? Well, we know marketers are constantly challenged, especially now, to get more from less. And the way to prove this is for measuring return on investment. So we want to talk to you today about how using research really does reap great investment. Let's have a little moment on ROI itself. So put simply, return on investment is the gain from investment relative to the amount invested. And it falls into two very complicated categories. Number one, easy to measure. Number two, difficult to measure. Let's focus first of all on easy to measure. Now, I used to work a lot with email marketers. It was a dream. You would have your creative idea, you would construct it, you'd draft the email out, you'd send it out to your email marketing list, holding a few back for control. Then you'd be able to see who bought your product, and it would be easy to see the return that you had on the investment on that email. But not everything is that simple. So if we think about ads on tubes, for example, I know there's ways to measure the effectiveness of that, but it's not always easy. And then if we take it a step further, when your employers pay for a night out, hopefully that will be happening again for us soon, that's an investment that you don't necessarily see a return on. So really, return on investments covers a whole spectrum of things that you can cover. Now, the problem that we've had with ROI in market or consumer research is that traditionally it's been seen as difficult to measure and therefore difficult to know the contribution that it's making. Why is that? Well, the first thing is market research objectives can be general. So the more general the concept, the more difficult the ROI measurement is. I get that. Also, there is often factors that influence the success of a product or concept, making it difficult to quantify the role of the research. So if you think about when someone has an idea and all the processes and stages it goes through until it's on your shelf, well, market research can feed into some of that, but then so can lots of other things, and attribution is almost impossible. And then finally, research can be used and should be used to decide not to do something. And a saving is not often seen as ROI. So traditionally, researchers have had trouble showing that market research, consumer research, does lead to a good return on investment. But I like to look at it a different way. So let me just show you this triangle with a bit cut off the top there. At the bottom, we've got longer term, where market research feeds into a longer term return. So we've got things like attitudes to product services, assessment of market size, trends in the market, all things you absolutely should be using consumer research to find out about, but you won't see an immediate return. And then in the middle, we've kind of got competitor analysis and consumer profiling, where the effects of your research are immediate, but again, turning that into a return can take longer. But at the top, we've got things that I think that you can see a pretty much immediate return on investment of your market research. So we've got price sensitivity and creative testing. So I just want to talk you through three of those today. So number one, price sensitivity. We know how important that is to people whenever we run research on what motivates people to buy products. And of course, price is already hovering around the top, so it's important to get that right. Secondly, creative testing, which I'm going to tell you a little story about when we get to the creative testing about how we don't use it as much as we should. And thirdly, consumer profiling. I know that was in the middle of our pyramid, but it's one of my favourite subjects, so I wanted to cover that with you today. Okay, let's talk about pricing. How can you use consumer research to get the right price? Okay, it's obvious, but price is a determining factor on whether a consumer will buy a product. But it's actually very hard to work out the right price to optimize profit, mainly because it can be too cheap. If you price something too low, consumers tend to question the quality of it. And then on the other side, you've got too expensive when consumers don't believe it's worth their investment. So somehow you've got to find the tipping point between those 2 points. Now, some people think all you have to do is ask somebody, what would you pay for that? But it's actually a really hard question to answer. Have a think about that. So the solution that we recommend here at Attest is using a Van Westendorp analysis. There are other analyses available when it comes to setting price, but this is the one we tend to recommend. And this works by calculating the tipping points of when something is too expensive, but also when something is too cheap. And the way that you do that is you ask these 4 questions. Number one, at what price would it be so low that you start to question this product's quality? And that means it's too low. At what price do you think this product is starting to be a bargain? On the low side. At what price does this product seem to be expensive? On the high side. And then of course, at what price is this product too expensive when we know it's just too high? So if you're setting that up in a piece of consumer research, there's a couple of tips I've got for you there when setting those 4 questions. Number one, provide as much information about the product as you can. If you think about it, when someone is making a decision to buy, they're either standing in the shop, looking at the shelves, or their fingers are poised over their keyboard, ready to press purchase now on an online sale. But when they're taking your survey, they're not in that situation. So you've got to do as much description as you can about the product and the circumstances that you're going to be selling it before asking those 4 questions. The second tip when you're asking these questions is only ask them of your target market. If you're going for more luxury side of things or premium side of things, you don't want to ask everybody. You just want to ask those that you think are likely to buy your product. Okay, so you ask these 4 questions, and then what happens? You get something that looks a little like this. Don't want you to be concerned. I'm going to talk you through this. So what you need to do is when you've got the results from those 4 questions, you point them on a graph. And the graph is cumulative. So let me just talk you through that. So our orange line here is too cheap. That's the point at which things are where the question where we question quality. And you can see on this graph that 100% of consumers that we asked think that $8 is too cheap. And then we can see here that 20% thinks that $26 are too cheap, and nobody thinks that $72 is too cheap. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we've got the too expensive line, which is the black one. And we can see that 100% of consumers think $85 is too expensive. Just looking, 20% think that $26 are too expensive, etc. And that's how you plot the lines on the graph. But of course, this leaves us with quite a big range. At the moment, we've got a range between $7 and $85. So we need to have a think about what to do about that. So what we do is we look at the intersecting points. First of all, we've got the point of marginal cheapness. And this is the intersection of too cheap and getting expensive. And it's where we think sales will be lost because of the perception of quality. And then also we've got the point of marginal expensiveness. Is that actually a word, expensiveness? Anyway, and that's the intersection between too expensive and getting to be a bargain. So this is the point at where it becomes a concern that the price is too high. So already we've narrowed our range down from between, I think that's probably about $25 to $38. And then we can narrow it down further by looking at indifference price point and optimal price point. So the indifferent price point is the balance between where it's getting expensive and getting a bargain. And the optimal price point is the same percentage that thinks it's too cheap and too expensive. So really, we're looking for a price in this area. Once you've set that price, you can go to market and watch that return come in. Okay, next one I want to talk about where I think consumer research can really help you is creative testing. Now, I'm going to share a little secret with you, which I'm embarrassed to think about when I look back. So when I used to work with the email marketers, we would, as I say, be part of the design decisions, and we would often have influence over a big campaign that we were sending out on email and other digital mediums. And how it would work is that I would sit with a couple of colleagues and the client. The creative agency would come in and they would show us a couple of ideas, maybe even 3, and then amongst the 3 or 4 of us, we would decide which one we felt was best. What was I thinking? So we would say, oh yes, we like that idea best, and that was the one that was used, that was then sent out as a campaign. When I look back, I don't really understand why we felt we had the experience or the knowledge to make that decision. We knew we could speak for ourselves, but we can't really speak for everyone else, and that's the mistake we were making. So what we really want to do is use creative testing to optimize anything before you send it out. Now, can research help improve return on investment? So I was thinking about Eric Schmidt, I think it's called, the ex-CEO of Google, and he had this approach to innovation. And he said, when you're doing innovation, you should have 70% of what you're already kind of producing. 20% you should be looking into things that are adjacent to what you're producing, and 10% should be entirely experimental. And I really like this approach to lots of things, and obviously advertising and creative testing is one of them. So when you're thinking about what creatives to produce, I think 70% should be very similar to what you already use, 20% should be adjacent, and then go wild and test some wacky ideas in your remaining 10%. And if you look at it, consumer research can help with all 3 of those things. Even though your content is proven, you might be getting fatigue, your consumers might be getting fatigue on it, and you need to be testing that. And then also new content, whether it be adjacent or experimental, run that before you go to market on it, and then you can see really if it is going to be effective or not. And as you can see, it's really easy to do. So how does creative testing increase this ROI, especially when you use a test? Okay, I'm going to lecture you a lot on this, but first of all, put simply, it removes the gamble of the gut instinct. I've used gut instinct. I told you a story about how I used gut instinct, but really, when I look back, it wasn't a sensible decision. Yes, we did make some sales on the back of the decision that we made on our gut, but was it the best decision? We don't know. We should have checked it beforehand. Secondly, it helps refine a winning idea. So you have your concept or your idea, but you need to optimize it before you send it out to your recipients or show it to the public. Often we do that after the first campaign, or I used to anyway. So you would send an email marketing out, and then you would see what people liked, where people clicked, etc., and refine it for the next time. But why wouldn't I do that beforehand, before it even went out to somebody? So you really need to use your consumer research for that. You can compare reception by demographic, so you can see who likes it and who doesn't, and then place it accordingly. And you can gauge the reaction of personalization. Now, I'd say probably about 5 or 6 years ago, as we know, personalization was all the rage. All the award-winning adverts contained personalization. But of course, it can be difficult and expensive to produce. So it's really worth finding out if you need to use personalization or not, or whether something's just as effective without it. Spot ad fatigue, I've mentioned that before. Just because something's worked before, it doesn't mean it's going to continue working. And then finally, pains me to say this sentence, but it allows us to be agile in these unprecedented times. I know that we did a webinar with Bloom and Wild at the end of last year, and they spoke a lot about how their research that they did showed them that what consumers needed were changing. Consumers needed to feel valued far more than they ever did before. And understanding this and then testing your creative to match that can be done very quickly with consumer research, and that's what you need to be doing. And that's how easy it is. I mean, that's just one question. If we were helping you to set up a survey on a test, it would be a few more questions than that, but very simply, which of these designs is your favorite? 4 different designs with a clear response. It's easy as that. Okay, my final favorite subject, consumer profiling. So what I often like to do in webinars is come up with a killer quote that really summarizes and gets the nuts and bolts of what a certain thing is. So I wanted to do that for the phrase consumer profiling. So I had a little dig around, but I couldn't really find anything that summed up what consumer profiling is. Some people talk about segmentation. Some people, if they're brave, talk about k-means clustering. But really, it's very difficult to define what it is. What we really think about is what it can do and where you see it in evidence. An example would be if you walk down a supermarket aisle, say the snack aisle. And if you have a look around, you can see some brightly coloured snacks that are clearly appealing to children. You can see snacks that are produced and packaged for the health conscious. You can see snacks that are packaged for those that like a luxurious treat. You can see those that are packaged for the more money conscious. You can see all those down a snack aisle. And what that's evidence of is consumer profiling. Every single one of those products is appealing to a particular consumer profile, a particular demographic. So what I really like to think about is what can consumer profiling do rather than what it is. So first of all, it allows you to build products that consumers know are for them. So when I go down that snack aisle and I want my little luxurious treat for a Saturday evening, I'm drawn to the thing that's made for me. Ah, that's perfect. That's just what I wanted. Similarly, if I was buying for my children, I would see, oh yes, that's perfect. Not too much sugar. I'm a good mum. Grab that. Health conscious, etc. It allows you to build products that consumers know are for them. Secondly, it allows you to market effectively. So, for example, if you're targeting a health product, it will allow you to understand where to place those things. It selects the markets which are profitable. If you have an idea or a concept, it'll help you understand if there's enough people and what they look like who are likely to buy your product. It drives innovation. The more you understand about people, the more you'll understand what they need and what they're looking for. And of course, therefore, because you're building the right thing for enough people who pay the right price, it increases your return on investment. What I want to do is just take you through an example of how we might look at putting a consumer profiling research together and what the outcome might look like. So let's imagine that we work for, in fact, let's imagine we're the CEO of the really good dog food company. And we are a dog food brand. We're a premium dog food brand and we sell our dog food online. Other than that, we need a bit of help as to where we're going. So first of all, when we run our research, we could identify who our customers could be. So we ran some research to dog owners for 1,500. Oh, this is all made up, by the way. These aren't real results. There's no such thing as the really good dog food company, sadly. We found out of the 1,500, 95% are open to buying dog food online. Then we found that 53% believe online dog food buying could be improved. Well, that's great. It's not a saturated market. It's not like we're trying to tap in to where people are already satisfied, there is an opening for us there. And then we found that 32% spent at least 500 per annum on dog food. So that's fantastic. We've got our potential customer core there, those who are open to buying dog food online. They think there's room for improvement, and we know that they're willing to spend the prices that we charge. So then we can look at a survey and we can compare our core segment, which are those three things there, with generally the rest of the survey respondents. So first of all, you'd probably have a look at the demographic characteristics. For dog food, it might not have much influence, but it's worth checking out. We can see that the age range of our core segment is slightly different to the survey in total. This is quite an interesting one. We would be likely to see who the value in our product. So we would ask a question like, complete this sentence. I believe online dog food shopping could be or could have, and then we have some things down there. So in this pretend survey, the blue line is our core segment. Remember, those that think online dog food could be improved and also that are willing to spend the prices we charge. And then the red line, the red pinky line, is the entire respondents. So we're looking for where blue outweighs the pink, so better quality, but look at this one, subscription. So we know here that our core demographic are likely to be interested in subscription, so that's something we should look into. Here we've got product preference, so what's most important to you when choosing dog food? And again, we're looking for where the blue is much higher than the pink line. So here we can see organic. Organic is very important to our potential consumers. That was quite interesting. Whoever designed this survey, they didn't think dog loves the taste was particularly important, but there we are. So that's something that we can take from that. And then you can have an investigate about where to place your marketing. So you can ask questions about frequency of checking various social medias, etc. One final thing that I wanted to mention that we like to include now in consumer profile surveys is psychographics. Now, this is a term that can get bandied about a lot, but I don't want you to be intimidated by it. Put simply, and I've written this down so I get it right, it's the study of people's values, desires, goals, interests, and lifestyle choices. Basically, it's why they do something. Now, some people might think this is new, but if you think about it, we have witnessed this for years. Where have we witnessed it? In car advertising. If you think about it, some car adverts focus on safety, some focus on family, some focus on adventure. It's all about understanding why your consumer does something. And so this can feed into your advertising, your packet design, your product design. It's all very interesting to understand the psychographic, the motivations behind why people do things. So if we were to do this as an actual survey, we would have a lot of findings, but we can see just in this simple example that quality and organic should be the direction that we focus on. So is subscription, we need to investigate that, and social media is a very important medium for our customers. So that was a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but I hope it showed you that how using consumer research can get you a medium to immediate term return on investment. Pricing is very near the end of your journey, so is creative testing. Consumer profile is in the middle, but as well as being one of my favorite subjects, it's really, really important and can reap great return on your investment. Okay, I think you've heard enough of me now, so I'm going to swap over to Fernando, who is going to smoothly switch over control of the screen. I think that's worked perfectly. So over to you, Fernando.
Thank you very much. That was amazing, a lot of information. And of course, right now with all the data that we have gathered from Sam, we can show you an example on how we at SEMrush, how we do our research. Let's put this as an example. We are product-centric company, so the product for us is first. Of course, building, developing the product that people from different industries are going to be using to reach new audiences, to engage more people, and to be the first on the list on Google's page results of the SERPs. You need to have some data, and you need to have different sources for acquiring that data. And in this case, let's take a look on how we did and how we are doing our own research. So how market research can help you identify areas to focus on in your digital campaign. our main goal is to understand how companies, we surveyed 2,000 companies to understand how they're using content marketing. Let me show you the results. We understood that 77% of companies that we surveyed have a content marketing strategy. But when we wanted to go a little bit deeper, we asked them to describe their marketing strategy, and only 48% they were able to do it. So maybe they have some kind of a strategy, but without planning, without prioritization of all the things that you need to do there, you don't have such a strategy. So you need to have the plan and the strategy to follow it. And what we have learned about the budgets. So in this case, we have learned that more or less 46% of all the companies that we surveyed in 2020, they are spending less than $10,000 per month in their marketing, content marketing promotion. So this is for Google Ads, this is for social PPC, social ads, and this is, of course, to try to understand how much money do you need in order to promote your services or your products. So for doing that, it will be great to understand what is the less of the budget and what is the top of the budget. Just 1%, less than 1% of the companies that we surveyed are spending more than $5 million per month. So in that case, we're thinking that if we follow the golden rule to promote your content, so 20% of your time you're spending in content creation, and 80% of the time you are spending on content promotion. So you can see here that most of the companies are just investing less than $10,000 per month, which is pretty normal, but let's see some other facts. 78% of the companies, they just have 1 till 3 members in their content marketing team. It can be the content editor, the blog manager, the copywriter, or just just one of them in their team. So we don't have yet those big editorial teams in those companies. So that's why most of the companies, they're not spending that much money on the promotion because they cannot create a lot of content. And when we turn out to content marketing goals, we try to understand, okay, you are creating content, but what is the purpose? What is the reason that you are creating that content? What do you want to achieve with that content? And we found a lot of different results. In the first position, in the top 2 positions, I will say we have that companies are creating content. The purpose of them to create content is generate more leads, to generate more quality leads. In other terms, more qualified leads. If you are part of a sales team, you are sure that that's the most important scoring for you, a qualified lead. That means that you have more information about the lead. You are not going to be doing any cold calls. So for the purpose of the content is to have more qualified leads, more quality leads. The second one is to attract more traffic to the website, which makes completely sense. You want to be found on the search results, so that's why you want to promote your content. That's why you want to publish more content. Then you will have at the end improve brand reputation, improves customer engagement and loyalty, and of course you want to empower new products, the positioning of those products, and increase the number of payments. But let's see what are the percentage of content that are distributed through different channels, across different channels. The main channel to promote your content in 2020 was social media. Well, it's one of the less expensive ones and is one of the good choices for all the companies, more or less 94%. Then we see that email marketing is the second one. It's a really great strategy to have your list of contacts, list of connections, and promote your content through those lists. Then PPC and paid advertising is in the third position. And then you have guest posting, influencer marketing, content syndication when you are working through different platforms. So for now, we are receiving tons of information just by surveying people, asking what are their goals, what are their budgets, and how they are distributing their content, right? As a marketeer, as a digital marketeer, I can have already a lot of information through these three slides and take some decisions. Just for an instance, why am I spending so much money in guest posting? Let's do more social media. It's less expensive and I will have more results as the rest of the industry, right? What about the challenges? So yes, every single company, they're facing different challenges, but 54% of them, their main challenge when we're talking about content marketing is to create content that generate quality leads. And you remember what was the main goal? To create content that generate leads, right? So that's the most difficult part, to create content that will generate quality leads. Then we have the creating content that attracts more traffic, which is the second challenge. And third one is to improve the SEO performance of the content overall, with all the vitals, the core vitals that we know from Google, and of course all the information that we need to put inside our content to be more visible. I'm talking about keywords, more rich information about the products or services that we are promoting or we are trying to promote. And saying that, let's see what are the top key metrics that companies are using for measuring the success of the content. Measurement is one of the most important parts of the content marketing strategy. And in this case, you can see that 76% of the companies that we surveyed, they have organic traffic as the main indicator of success. Then we have leads, the number of leads, and then the sessions, page views, conversion rate, and so on. So by far, organic traffic, the amount of people who are entering to your store, to your blog, to your web page, is the most important metric to measure for all the companies. The second one, which is pretty close to the first one, is the amount of leads. How many leads do you have? New leads, all leads returning, but companies are measuring that, and that's really important. The less important for the companies, as you can see here, is let's start from the end, are comments, are the number of backlinks. They are not measuring that. The ROI, I don't understand why. That's something important, but they try to focus on the things that they can gather really fast. Then you see the social shares, bounce rate, and so on. So most important key metrics: organic traffic and leads. And that's the jump that we can go through the next slide, which is the most efficient tactics for content marketing that were implemented in 2020. So the most important one, yes, is of course search engine optimization. If you want to be more visible, you need to improve your visibility through SEO, and that was one of the main KPIs for measuring the success. And the strategy, of course, the most efficient tactic for achieving that is search engine optimization. The second part is updating and repurposing existing content. So just grabbing all the data behind your Google Analytics and your Search Console and analyzing what people are following, what people are viewing from your website, and just matching the things that you need to repurpose, or maybe you have content that nobody's seen in your website. You need to delete that. You just need to have that information in one hand, right? And of course, the third one here is create more visual content, and so on. And you can see the list. It's a big list for the tactics, but as I was saying, the most important one is SEO. So that was about the goals and the KPIs. Let's talk about the content distribution. So what types of content do you produce in terms of the survey that we asked? So the most important type of content are blog posts, emails, infographics, case studies, and success stories. We have that in the top 5. So blog posts by far are still the most important type of content that companies can produce because they are given more visibility, and in terms of SEO, you can obtain more organic traffic from them. Then you see that email marketing is pushing more the promotion of your content, and while you have more registrations, more people giving you their contact details, you will have more people to aim your main message to target with your promotions, because they subscribe to receive that, so they are already interested. Then you have infographics, which are working really well on social media. I will say that in LinkedIn, infographics are just the best. They were a couple of years ago and on Pinterest, but on LinkedIn, if you have infographics on Twitter, they are working just perfectly. And success story, case studies are the type of content that are supporting more the trust and the connection that people have with your brand, with your company. These are all the type of content that the companies we surveyed described us. So you have not only blog posts, but you can have gamification, you have PDF, videos, audios, visual and text as well. So this is the part where we are taking into account only what we ask to people. What if we take the same goal for us to understand how companies are using content marketing, and we're going to be just using tools, right? Because for creating and for organizing a survey, you need to do the preparation. You need to have all the key points to understand what you want to achieve. So it's going to be taking 1-2 days, maybe 2 weeks, maybe for if you are in different industry right now, like for example in the health industry. For creating a survey, you need to have different key points. So it's time consuming. But with data, with the help of tools, you can do that in a couple of seconds, like we did here. For example, what are the traffic sources for e-commerce websites? And what we did here, we just picked the 200 most popular e-commerce websites globally. So I'm talking Amazon, Costco, Walmart, and so on, all the commerce businesses, and we find out how they are distributing. The source of their traffic is distributed through a tool that is called Traffic Analytics, right? And we found out that 50% of those sites are receiving their traffic from search. So basically, yes, they are doing search engine marketing, SEO. They are promoting their content as well. We see that paid traffic is not the second, it's not the third, it's the fourth strategy, because they're spending money there and they're receiving traffic from there. Only 6% of 6 or 7% of them are receiving traffic from paid advertising. And as you can see, referral traffic is 10%. Direct traffic is the second most important source of traffic. So all the visibility that you are generating through brand awareness, all the branding that you have, or how people are reacting to your overall name, to your products, to your star products, are really important, because people, they're just gonna remember who you are, and they're gonna be going to directly to your website through a browser, for example. So in this case, we can see, yes, SEO is the most important one, but the rest are also important, not in a less way, but just in the percentage. Let's go to the second one. What is the traffic to industry blogs by source? In this case, we checked the traffic sources from different industry blogs across the globe between April and September last year, and we split the traffic sources. So the most important source of traffic for industry blogs is search. Of course, SEO is the most important one, but you can see that Social and refer are less overall. And if you want to choose one of the strategies, I will say choose everything and concentrate more, prioritize the things that are going to get more visibility, and you will have the same answers in the survey and the same answer as we did here with the data set using tools. So the main point here for this survey for us was we need to create content thinking in people, and of course we need to create content thinking on Google, because we already know how much traffic blogs, industry blogs, the most popular websites are getting from e-commerce websites, for example, from organic search. So that's our main point here. You can just make the you can just check the difference between the survey and the data. If you don't find any difference, you did great. You have all the information you need to go for the next step. And I'm coming to you again, Sam.
Perfect. So we've got our key takeaways. We've given you a lot of information to absorb there, but don't worry, as we say, you can watch it over and over again. So I think Fernando's got his 2 top key takeaways from what he's just spoken about. So do you want to take those away?
Yes, let me start with the first 2 key takeaways. For us, the most important thing that we found out was that research can show what is the most important, likely to address your issue successfully. So we need to go more into content marketing, we need to go more into PPC, or what's the next strategy that we need to apply. That's why we're using research to make better decisions. Then we found out that research allow us to make cost benefit arguments, so we can pitch for our C-level, for example, or for the board of the directors, or for the clients, what is the best strategy to apply, what is the best way to move, not only saying that this is in our opinion on we believe that this is the best way. We can find all the information, and we can be sure that the data behind our research is 100% taken from users, and in the second case that I was showing you, it was taken from third-party tools, data. So with users and with data, you can do better pitching to your clients or C-level in your company.
Perfect. Okay, short and sweet from me. It's not true, I would say, that consumer research does not lead to a short-term return investment. I gave you a couple of examples of where it would, and obviously Fernando's taking you through some detail on that as well. But even when the journey to the return is longer, consumer research is still vital. I used to make decisions on gut instinct, and when I look back, I am horrified at myself. So just have a think about when you're making decisions on that basis and whether you probably do need a bit of validation. Okay, shall we just have and see if there's any questions? If I can work the tech, hopefully I should be able to. Okay, first of all, how does pricing with Van Westendorp analysis work if the product has not been offered before? Okay, 2 things I would say about that is, first of all, invariably your product is going to be in a category. So you will have a rough idea of where it will sit as your starting point for your ranges. And secondly, remember when I said in the survey, you'll always have the option to describe and give as much information about the product as you can. So what it will look like, where you expect it to be positioned, where you expect to look for it in a store, any information that you can give in a survey, so that when the consumer is answering those 4 questions, they can have in their mind, they can also imagine themselves considering it to buy. So that's what I'd say for that one. And then secondly, how do you determine the number of people in the target market to interview for pricing analysis? So really, you will know, or presumably you have done some research, about what your target market is. And if you were to use a test, then you would be able to qualify that particular target market in, be it whether it's because of their demographic profile or what motivates them, or whether they have certain habits, I don't know, tea drinkers, anything like that. You can qualify only those in, and then you ask them the pricing survey. So that is how you would do that. And then the number of respondents that you would have per survey would very much depend on whether you're looking for a steer or a very robust result, and how much you want to cut the data by. But if you were working with us, we would advise you on that. Okay, I think we probably need a question for Fernando. So let me just have a look. How did content marketing research help SEMrush to achieve ROI?
Yes, that's brilliant. Actually, when we are doing research, we are trying to establish the facts that we think that we need, the way that we need to act, the vector that we need to follow, and research is helping us to identify that, one, we are right about what we are thinking, so about our hypothesis, or the second one, we are wrong. We don't need to go that way. But just in the road while we are doing the research, we are identifying things that we didn't include at the beginning of the hypothesis. So in different ways, we cannot go farther. We cannot escalate any process inside of the company without the proper research and then experimentation with our own goals.
Perfect. Okay, so I once read somewhere that sort of the maximum concentration level of everyone is 45 minutes. So I think we'll probably bring this one to a close. If you do want to get in touch with either myself or Fernando, he will demonstrate some contact details now. Anything you want to ask or get in contact with, please do let us know. This has been recorded, so it will be sent to you. And of course, don't forget to fill in the post-webinar survey. So apart from that, all I have to say is thank you very, very much for listening. Thanks, Fernando, for joining me, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
Thank you. See you soon, everybody.